Let's step into a fairy tale. Today I'm unboxing the Moonlit Serenade bead collection, filled with romantic sapphire tones, midnight blues, and magical sparkle. Let's see what fairy tale treasures are inside. We'll first start off with going through the strands, and this is the Sam's bead box for February 2026. It's called Moonlit Serenade. So I love the different colors of blues and yellows. I love blue to begin with, so matching it with yellows, matching it with pinks and everything like that, it's just, I like this kit. I like it. I love my colors of blue. So first thing you get is a beautiful, very long strand of, what are they, 4mm? No, they're 3mm. 3mm multi-gem faceted rounds. There is aquamarine, labradorite, and yellow cubic zirconia. So here is your CZs, your yellow CZs, and look how much they sparkle. It is amazing. Here is your aquamarine, so the light blue, and then every once in a while you get some that are a little bit darker in blue color like that. But they're a nice light icy blue color. And then here is your labradorite. And then every once in a while, there's a really good flash on that stone there. I don't know if the camera picked it up or not. But there's a really good flash in some of these that, oh, there it is. With the labradorite. I love labradorite. It's one of my favorite stones. I say that a lot with a lot of gemstones, but labradorite is actually one of my favorite stones to work with just because of the flashes of color and stuff. You'll get blue sometimes, you'll get yellow sometimes, depending on the type of cut it has and everything. So it's a nice, huge, long strand of that. The next strand is a Czech glass table cut oval. This is in matte sapphire. They are 8 by 9mm. You get 15 pieces on this. So here is the table cut portion. So they are matte, so you don't see the table cut as well as if you were to see on other beads and things like that. Ones that have washes on the side and things like that. But this, you can see that this is matte right in here. So along the edge of the bead, and then right here at the center part where it has just kind of like a star cut out there. That caught, the light's catching it, so that way you could see where it's at. That star cut out is where it's the clear sapphire. And then you have the matte along the side of the bead like that. So you get 15 pieces of that. Next one is a Czech glass fire polish rondelle set. It's Aquamarine Dream Mix. They are 2 by 3mm and it's a 50-piece strand. So these are really pretty. Let me see if I can get it close enough to where you can maybe see it. So you have, it's very similar to the actual aquamarine that was on this first strand here, where you have some that are a little bit darker in color, and then you've got others that are more of the white or the clear color. So it's a very, very nice strand, and it's just glass. So very good option to use, and I like the size too. With it being a small size like that, we can do some delicate beadwork and everything, bead woven beadwork with those small beads. The next strand is Czech glass pumpkin beads. These are crystal gold AB. They are 8 by 11.5mm. You get 8 pieces. So very cute little pumpkin bead. That's exactly what it reminds me of, is a little pumpkin. And then you've got the gold wash in between the little ridges of the pumpkin. So very, very cute. Like these guys. Next one is a Czech glass fire polish round. This is yellow crystal AB. They are 5mm. You get 30 pieces on this one. So a nice transparent yellow, and you've got that little AB on the one side or on portions of the beads. Another good size also because it's the 5mm, so it's good to have just in case you have a space that you're looking for in a project, whether it's bead weaving or stringing, and you don't want it to be as big as a 6mm, but it needs to be bigger than the 4mm, so the 5s are awesome to have on hand, especially with a good neutral tone like that. Next one is Czech fire polish round sapphire AB. These are 4mm. You get 40 pieces on this one. So very similar to the yellow one, just this one is a very light sapphire color, and it's got a little bit of an AB finish on some of the bead as well. So nice icy blue color to go along with everything. The next one I'm really loving. Those of you that have been watching my videos know that I love chips. I love getting chips. So this is aquamarine and rose quartz pebble chips. They are somewhere around between 5 and 8 millimeters, and it's 11.5-inch strand. So it's a huge amount. But here's your aquamarine. So you get 2 little portions of that, and then you get 2 portions of the rose quartz. So I have an idea of an earring to go with this that would be similar to one of the other necklaces that I've made in the past called cubic kyanite is what I used in what I made in the past. So I'm thinking about making a pair of earrings, and I might do this on my live tutorial. So that way you can get an idea of how to use chips in an earring portion. Then these are your little stars. They are Czech glass, and the color is Magic Iris Mix. They are 6 millimeters. You get 25 pieces. So you have one side that's a little bit more of a crystal color, and then the other side is more of an opaque, and you get the different colors of greens and purples and blues. So very cute. Really like these little stars. It's going to be fun in a project. Then you get the same color in fire polish rounds. These are 8 millimeters, 15-piece strand. It's Magic Iris Mix. So the same thing. So you can see a little bit more of the, where part of it's more of a crystal color, and then here's your more opaque with all the other colors, the blues, greens, purples, things like that. So very pretty. Next one is your Starry Night coins. This is in Jet Black Iris. They are 13.5 millimeters. And then they have a little bit of a freeform shape. So you can see that you have the moon right there with a bunch of stars. And then the back side of the coin is the same thing. So if my idea for my earring turns out, I might be using these in the earring at the end of the tutorial. Have to see if it works out. If it doesn't work out quickly for me, then I'll probably come back and do that as a tutorial later on, because I have a really neat idea for this one. Next strand is another strand of gemstones. These are sodalite. They're faceted. They are around 7.7 to 8.3 millimeters. You get 20 pieces. Then you also have your little spacer beads. These just little gold seed beads. They put those in there to help keep the beads from cracking, so that way they're not bumping up against each other all the time and everything and cracking. But so you can see that the sodalite has that little bit of a whiteness to it. I like sodalite because it's that beautiful deep midnight blue color, but then you have every once in a while you have that cloud look with all the little white pieces in it and everything. I really like sodalite. And the last strand that we get is fire polish rounds. This color is cobalt and then sapphire and crystal mix. They are 6 millimeters. You get 30 pieces. So you've got 2 different colors here. I thought there was 3 at first, but there's actually only 2. So you've got the cobalt ones. These are the cobalt ones, the ones that are a little bit darker. And then you've got the crystal and sapphire mix. Some of these beads, like these 2 right here, look like the crystal portion got left out and it's mainly sapphire. That's why I was thinking I had 3 different colors on here, because some of the beads look like this. But most of them look like this, where you can see just a little bit of a crystal through it. And then when you turn the bead around to the other side, then there's your sapphire portion. So it's very neat. I like that mixture of the different colors of blue and everything. So that is the strands that you get in the Moonlit Serenade box. So meet me back and then we'll go through the little baggies that you get. And here's the rest of the Sam's Bead Box Moonlit Serenade for February 2026. So we'll go through all the little baggies. First little bag that you get is a Czech glass rose coin. It's in the color of white silk gold. They are 17.5 millimeters and you get 2 pieces. So it's a beautiful little rose. Hence the reason why I used a rose on my thumbnail picture, because I love flowers. Really, really love flowers. And I love to make flowers and make, you know, designs and everything that resemble flowers of some sort with beads. only because I do not have a green thumb. My mother and my grandmother did have a green thumb like crazy, and so did my grandfather, and they did not pass that on to me. So I do anything and everything to keep my beads the way they can, because these won't die on me. But this is your... Sorry, that was probably a little too much information. But anyways, this is your little gold rose coin, and then your hole goes down the center of the coin, and the picture's on the same on the front and the back. So it's a really pretty bead. Next thing you get is a 6-piece set of 15 by 30 millimeter moon pendants. These are actually white shell and they're front drilled. So you have the hole up here at the top. They are the same on the front and the back. And I picked out just a couple of them just so you can see the differences. This one has a little bit more of a beigeish color to it. This one's more white. So you're going to have a little bit of a difference in your shell beads, just because, just like any other gemstone, you're always going to have a little bit of variance with it. So I just picked out a couple of them so you can see that there is a little bit of variance with it. But they're very, very cute beads. Next one you get are Czech glass flowers of life. These are 19 millimeters. They are in the color of Fairy Magic, and you get 2 pieces. So here is the little flower of life, which is that design that is in the center. If you're not familiar with that, I'm holding it off to the side a little bit so that way the light can kind of catch it so you can see it easier. The hole to this one goes straight down the center. So there's the hole right there. This is one side of the bead where it's a little bit more of your crystals color, and then this is where the AB color comes in, is on the opposite side of the bead. So when you flip it over, there's your crystal, and then there's your ABs. So very neat beads to work with. Good, nice size too. It'd be a really good beads that you can do some brick stitch around the set and the side of it, and use that as either, you can do that as either a set of earrings, or you can do that as a pendant, do brick stitch around it, and then just attach it to some chain or something like that along the edge for a good, really nice necklace. The next beads are Czech glass star rice beads. They are enchanted evening mix. They are 3.5 by 6 millimeters, and you get about an 8.5 gram bag, which is approximately 60 beads. Oh, look at that! I picked up the 3 different colors that are in there. So you get the cobalt, you get the sapphire, and then you get the crystal, and they all have a gold wash to it. So you have a little bit of a star shape that's on all 4 sides of the bead there. And it's in that gold wash. So this one, I have an idea, it would be a really good bead to use in spiral stitch. This be your core bead, and then the beads that you put around the edge would just be your seed beads and everything. So I might actually do a double tutorial at the end of this one. Might do just a simple earring and then come back and do a bracelet or maybe a necklace, depending on how big those are. So maybe, we'll see. See what I come up with here in a little bit. Next one are curved petals. What are they calling? Curved petal pear brios. They're etched sapphire AB. They're 11 by 16 millimeters. You get 4 of these. So they're petal beads. That is one side of them. And then the other side is a little bit more of a transparent. So you still see the AB finish through it, but it's a little bit more transparent. So this one's your opaque side. So very pretty petal beads. I love, there again, me and my flowers and everything. It'd be amazing to come up with an idea to where you can put this here, and then you have some beads that come around the side of it and everything. Very, very cool. I really like this color too. So that's an idea, at least for you, if you're into bead weaving. Next thing you get is a Czech glass vintage button. This is in blue silk swirl gold. It's 18 millimeters, and you get 1 of these. So very, very pretty. I really like that little swirl that's there in the center. There we go. Now you can see it. I'm trying to hold it to where the light's not shining on it too much, but you can see that little bit of a swirl there. Oh, you can see it better that way. There we go. There's a swirl. And then it's a shank button. So it's nice because the button itself, or the shank itself, is still that glass. And then there's your hole there. So I really like this button. This is neat. Next thing you get are Czech glass birch leaves. They're fairy tale sapphire mix. They're 10 by 12.5 millimeters, 13.3 gram size bag, which ends up being around 20 pieces. And here's the 3 colors that you get. You get your matte, and these are actually, some of them have AB. Or I wonder if you get 4 colors. Oh, there we go, AB. See, this one doesn't have too much of an AB. I guess there's a little bit on there. But yeah, you get a matte sapphire AB color. You get the transparent sapphire. And then this is kind of a semi-transparent, or semi-matte, or semi-transparent, whichever, of crystal beads. You get the crystal there in the center, but then along the edge is where it's the matte. So just different textures and everything. And then the whole, as you can see through the crystal one, it's a little bit easier to see. It goes down straight down the center of the leaf. So very neat to have those. You get a carved little bird. This is Matte Indigo Blue Silk Copper. It is a 11 by 21 millimeters, and you get one of these. So very, very cute little bird. And there is where the hole is at. And then the other side of it is the same. And that's the underside, just in case you want to see that. So a very cute little bird that you get. Very good for a nice focal of a necklace. And the next one are Czech glass teardrops. These are in Sapphire. They're 6 by 10 millimeters, 16 gram bag, and it's around 35 pieces, somewhere around in there. So a nice little teardrop bead, and then your hole goes down the center of the bead. Something else that would be really good for the idea, one of my ideas for earrings is circular peyote using these guys. So that was my first intent of doing an earring at the end of the video, but if I do the bracelet, I think I might do this one later. So I'll probably come back and do the circular peyote with this one. But that was my intent for this. And then this one was the spiral stitch. And then the last 2 parts are your findings that you get in the kit. These are both made by Tira Cast. Tira Cast is a United States company here in the States, and they produce really, really good products and everything. I really enjoy getting their products in different kits and being able to purchase them and everything. So these are antique gold plated. They're lead free. It is a pewter. So just in case there is some allergies and everything, it is a pewter. These are trefoil drops. It is 16 by 24 millimeters. You get 2 pieces, and I keep flipping it over so that way you can see that it's the same on both sides. So very, very cute. Very easy for a set of earrings. Just make a simple little drop right here and then attach it to ear wire on that side. So this might be my simple earrings, and I'll do either the bracelet or the necklace with that. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about doing, I think. And then the last thing you get is a Deco Diamond Toggle Clasp. This is also Tira Cast, and it is 18 by 23.5 millimeters. You get 1 set. So you got the same thing on both front and back again. So a very cute little toggle set. Really like that one. So that is your Sam's bead box for February 2026 called Moonlit Serenade. So the next thing you'll see is a supplies needed page of all the products and stuff you'll need to be able to follow along if you wish. So I'll meet you back in just a few moments and we'll get that tutorial started. Today we're actually going to be doing 2 projects. We're going to be making this earring right here, and then we're also going to make the companion to this necklace. So we're going to do a bracelet in the same fashion as the necklace. So it's going to be the same technique and everything. It's just obviously going to be smaller and shorter, and instead of using a lobster claw like I did on the necklace, we're going to use the button that came in the kit. So I'm going to first start off and show you how to make the earring. So we are going to need some sort of a head pin. I have just a ball head pin here. I'm going to put one of the sodalites on. I went through my sodalites and I picked out 2 of them that had a little bit more of a white flash in them, white portion to it. So that one is what that one looks like, and then this one has more of kind of like a vertical white flash. So picked out two that were pretty similar in color. And then I'm using 2 of the yellow seed beads that came with the sodalite. And we're going to string that on. And then we're going to just do a simple loop. So we're going to take our chain nose pliers, go just slightly above that seed bead, and then we're going to fold over. And, whoops. Make sure that your fold is about 90 degrees. Something not quite like that. Okay, that did not work out very well. Alright, so let's re-straighten back up. And then I'm using the pliers and kind of making it a little bit more straighter. Okay, so let's try that again. So we're going to go slightly over the seed bead, and then we're going to go a 90-degree bend. Oh, that's much better. It's not quite 90 degrees, but it's pretty close. Okay. Then we're going to make this a little shorter. So I'm going to line up everything with the bottom part of my nail down here. And then I'm going to use the top part of my nail to be able to cut off with the flesh side towards the product. So about right in there. And then we get our round nose pliers, and about 1/4 of the way up the barrel is where I will make the loop. And then just pray that this ends up being about the same size as the other loop, because it was just about perfect in size. Alright, so that is, whoops, that is what our little charm looks like so far. Now this is probably the most difficult part of trying to get, of the earring, is trying to get this little guy on this part of the connector. So we're going to open this guy up, just like we would any other typical type of jump ring. And then we're going to slide this guy in. And this is the part that I had the hardest part, trying to figure out how to get it on here and not fumble around with it so much. So I'm probably going to fumble around with it. But we just need to get this on the inside loop. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Because I figure if I'm having issues with fumbling around with it, then probably other people are too. So make sure I'm in focus. Yep, okay. We're just going to slide that in just like that. Yay. Alright, trying to hold on to it so it doesn't fall out. And then we'll take the chain nose pliers and close that up. Now before I go too much further along, I want to make sure that this is hanging in the way that I want it to hang. So I'm holding it upright right now so I can kind of look at it. So of course you can't see that, but I will have it to where that's about what it's going to look like when it's hanging on the ear. So just do a comparison, and we're going to be close enough to each other. So our loops are going to be pretty close to each other. So I think that will work. I need to close up that loop on the charm a little bit better. Okay, I think that's closed up. If not, that's fine. I'll get it closer to my face if I need to. So now we're just going to add it to our ear wire. I'm going to open up the front portion of the ear wire, and then I'm just going to drop this in and then twist it around until it gets connected onto. Okay, come on now. Really? There we go. Oh my. It's not the hardest thing to do. It's just harder because I'm recording, of course. Always works out that way. So that is our simple little earrings done. So that's the first part of the tutorial. So meet you back and we will go through the bracelet with some serenading of my puppy dog Captain in the background. So let's work on making a bracelet to go along with this necklace. Like I said before, it's going to be the same pattern as the necklace, it's just going to be shorter. So we're going to do the same thing with that. What I have is the little star beads that came in that combination of the crystal, the sapphire, and the cobalt color. What I did in the very beginning is I split these up into the different colors, counted them all out to see how many were there. I put 2/3 of the color amounts into the necklace, and then I put the other third over here into the bracelet. Now if you notice, I have one crystal bead sitting over here. That is because when I went through the necklace, I actually had one of my crystal beads that does not have a hole down the center. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I took one of the beads out of the bracelet and actually put it into the necklace. I don't remember which side it was, but it was actually the very last bead that I had to use. So I put it back into there. So I have one odd number bead here. So I'm actually going to put that in the center of the bracelet. So what we're going to start off doing first is splitting the crystal and the sapphire color into two. So that way we use 2 crystal, 3 sapphire. I'm going to use half of the cobalt, and then we're going to put that other crystal in there, and then we're going to go backwards. We'll go back to the cobalt, and then we'll do the other sapphire and the last crystal. After that, we will use 11 seed beads to fill out the rest of the bracelet to see how long you need to make it. So I'll move the necklace out of the way, and I'll get you started with this. And I have the 3mm beads down here too. These are the aquamarine that I'm going to pair up with the crystals. Just these crystals right here. This crystal is going to get this one over here. So the aquamarine is going to pair up with the crystals. The labradorite is going to pair up with the sapphire color. And then the CZ yellow colored beads are going to pair up with the cobalt ones. And this one over here. So I have only one 11OC bead on my mat right now. I'm going to use that as a stop bead. Now this, you have to make sure that you leave enough room to come back and tie off your end of your thread. So I'm holding on to the stop bead and I'm using my watch as a gauge to see how long I need to go. I usually go down to the very bottom of my watch, and that usually is plenty of thread to be able to tie off at the end. That ends up being about 4 to 5 inches, something like that. Now for a stop bead, we just want to go back through that bead one more time. You can do it twice if you like. Or if you're using 8/0s, you can definitely be using 8/0s instead of 11/0s on this too. To start off the spiral stitch, we need to start off with 2 beads as our core beads. So these are going to be our core beads, and then our seed beads and the crystals are going to be, and the gemstones are going to be the accent beads. So we're going to start off with 2 core beads. We're going to pick up 5 15s, 4 and 5, and we're going to pick up one of our aquamarines. So I'm going to pick up one of the darker blue ones of the aquamarine. Pick up 5 more seed beads of your 15s. And then pull that all down to your stop bead. Now for the spiral stitch, what you end up doing is you go back through the 2 core beads. Don't go through any of the side beads, which are your 11/0s and your gemstone or crystal. Then what we want to do is we want to turn this to the left or the right. I always do it to the left because I feel like it's easier for me to bead in this direction. So I hold on to the beads over here with my left hand. So that's the first one done. First one's always different than the rest of them. So this next one is going to be basically what you're going to do down the whole bracelet. You're only going to pick up 1 core bead this time. This time it's going to be the sapphire color. We're still going to pick up the same amount for the decoration on the side. So 5 of our 15s, 1 of our labradorites. As soon as I can find a hole on one of them. There we go. And then 5 more, goodness, 5 more of our 15s. I know, Captain, I know. He's kenneled up right now. He's not very happy. We're still trying to get him used to being in the kennel throughout the day, too. So here is that. Now to finish off the stitch, we want to go through the last 2 core beads. So this is the one that we just added. So we just count down 1 more core bead and then go through the one that we just added. And then pull that down. Your beads are probably going to sit off to the right or the left if you're left-handed, and then we're just going to flip these to the opposite side. So that way we can hold on to them. and that's what it looks like. So I'll do this one more time, and essentially it's the same thing down the whole rest of the bracelet. So pick up a core bead, 4 and 5 of your 15s, a labradorite or whichever crystal is pairing up with your core bead, and then 5 more 15s. And then pull that down to the end of the bracelet. And you want to go back through the last 2 beads. There we go. Make sure it's focused. So you want to go through the last 2 beads. So just count back 1 extra bead and then go through those 2 beads. Whoops. I'm getting wrapped around everything today. And then your beads will sit off to one side or another. Just make sure they're sitting on the correct side. You always want to go to the right or the left if you're, if you're choosing one direction or the other, whether you're flipping it to the left or you're flipping it to the right, just make sure it's the same direction each time in this particular stitch. So that is all you do on the first half. So go ahead and complete the amount that you want with all of your beads here, and then meet me back and I will show you the next step to do. Once you get all your beads on, then your bracelet should look something similar to this. And see how I have the crystal there in the center. So looking pretty cute at the moment, but as you can tell, it is not long enough to be able to go around the wrist. So we're going to have to add a little extra length. Now if you're just doing the bracelet and you don't want to do the necklace, then you can obviously add more to either side of it and not have to add so many seed beads, and then just do something similar if you're going to use the button. If you decide to use the lobster clasp, not the lobster, the other one, the toggle clasp that came in the kit, then I would suggest to use wire guards. So that way you can do something similar to this. Let me hold it up a little bit closer so you can see what I did. So I ended up doing the chain of seed beads here, and then I have 1 seed bead on either side of the wire guard, and then I went up and down this several times. So that way I have 2 thread paths through each of these, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Actually, no, I won't, because I'm not going to be using wire guards on the bracelet. Never mind, so I'm going to talk about that now. So I started off with one side and then went down the whole necklace, came back over here, added the wire guard on this side, then went back down the necklace, came back around, put a second thread path through this side of the wire guard, went back down again, and then ended up over here off to this side. And I ended up having 2 thread paths already through this to begin with, because the stop bead is one of the beads that I started off with. So I started off with a stop bead, added the wire guard, then I added my 2.5 inches of seed beads, because that's what I ended up needing to get about a 16-inch necklace or so. I have about 2.5 inches of seed beads. Then I did the bead work, or went through the bead work, and then back over here, added the 2.5 inches of seed beads, went through a wire guard, added 1 extra seed bead, went through that second seed bead from the last, and then went back down again. So I hope that makes sense. So if you're using the toggle clasp, I would suggest to do something similar to this, so that way you have a something good that holds on to that clasp itself. And when you're using thread, I always like to use wire guards with thread, so that way the fraying and everything doesn't happen as quickly when you use the wire guards. So hopefully that made sense. If it did not, then please leave me a comment down in the below, and I will try to make it make a little bit more sense if you are needing some help with that. So after we get this part done, we're going to go ahead and tie off. Then we're going to add our extra seed beads, and we're going to do it in a similar fashion like we did with the necklace. So to tie off, I'm currently coming out of that last bead, which is the crystal one in my thing. I'm just going to go down 2-3 beads off to the little decoration off to the side. Doesn't matter how many, just a couple. And then I'm going to do a 1/2 inch knot. So go up underneath the thread path, or the beads, and then make yourself a circle, go through that circle, and then tie that circle, or make that circle tight, and then that creates your knot. Then we're going to go through a few more of these beads, a couple more 15s. I'm going to go through the aquamarine, a couple more 15s on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing on this portion, and make a knot here. Then I'm going to proceed through the last of the 15s there. I'm just kind of following my thread path. I'm going to go up just one of the core beads that I'm sitting next to at the moment. And then I'm going to go down. I'm going to go ahead and go down all 5 of the 15s here. And then I'm going to do a sewer's knot. Sewer's knot, you go underneath the bridge thread like you did beforehand. Make yourself a circle, go through the circle once. Bring that circle down close, or that loop down close to the product. And make sure that it's not, that it's a good loop like that. Then we're going to go through that loop a second time. Make sure you go through that loop in the same direction as you did the first time, or else you're just going to undo your loop basically. Then we're going to pull down quick and tight, and then that's a sewer's knot. I'm going to proceed through the aquamarine down the other 15s, and then that is where I'm going to burn off. So take my thread burner and burn down close to the end, and then use the thread burner to make a ball of thread at the end of your 15. And that way it's somewhat hidden, so that little bit of ball of thread hopefully will not cause any irritation when somebody is wearing it. So now all you have to do is put your needle onto your starter thread down here, take your seed bead off, take your stop bead off, and then add your needle on, and then do the same thing on this side. Then meet me back and we will discuss how to make this a little bit longer so you can add your button. Alright, so when you get everything all tied off together and everything, then your bracelet should look something similar to this. So when we actually measure this linearly, okay, that was hard for me to say, it is somewhere around 4 3/4 inches. I usually, when I do a measurement like this, where I'm laying my my bracelet down and taking a measurement flat like this, I usually try to get my bracelets to be about 7.5 inches total. Whenever we're adding a clasp of any sort, you're going to have anywhere between a 1/2 inch to a full inch in order to be able to get your clasp on. So I'm going to use my beadwork all the way up to 6.5 inches. So that's going to be about where we're going to be at over here off to the right hand side. That means that we have to add approximately 1 3/4 inches of seed beads. So 1 inch of seed beads with using this particular Miyuki seed bead, which is the Duracoat galvanized seed bead, this one was about 18 beads per inch. So 1 3/4 inches would be around 31 to 32 seed beads. So we're going to have to divide that number into half. We put half of it over here and half of it over here. So we're going to put, I'm going to go ahead and just do 16. I'll do 16 on one side, 16 on the other. So that's how you would figure out how much to add, how many seed beads to add. So I went ahead and put another stop bead on the thread. This is just the same thread that I was using earlier. I just burnt it off and just reusing it. On this one, I'm going to go straight through the core beads until I come out the other end, and then we will add our seed beads on. So we're just going straight through the core beads, and once we get out to the other side, we'll add on our 16 beads. And we're going to start with adding our button. I would almost always suggest that when you're doing a button, in whether it's a bracelet or with a necklace, add your button first before you do your loop, because you can always make your loop a little bit bigger or smaller to accommodate your button, but if you put your loop on first, then it's kind of hard to go back and do that, depending on how you add it all and everything. So now we're going to add our 16 beads because I'm at the other end. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Alright, so 16 beads. And then that will just give the bracelet just a little extra length to it. So now we need to figure out how we're going to add our button. So the size of the button here, we want to add some seed beads to go around it, and then go through our button a couple of times. So I am going to add, I think, maybe 3. Because what I'm doing is I'm holding the beads up, and I'm kind of trying to get the last seed bead at about the middle portion of the shank right here, and then see if the third seed bead is about at the place where the hole is over here off to the side. And if it's close, then that's when you know, okay, you probably have enough seed beads on there. So after I have 3 seed beads on there, I'm going to go ahead and go through the shank. I'm going to add another 3 seed beads. And then we're going to use this 4th seed bead, which is the last one that we added in our 16. We're going to go back through it in the same direction that the thread's going in right now. So see how I went back through it like that? So I'm going back through the bead towards the button at the moment. That will allow that bead to sit in a different orientation than the rest of the seed beads, like that. Oh, come on, focus. There we go. So it's going to sit like that. And then that will give the button a little bit more stability to be able to move around. So we're going to go through this button at least 2 more times. So we're going to have 3 thread paths through the button. And make sure everything is tight still, because my tension just got loose. And you don't want it like ultra tight, but you want it tight enough to where you're not going to have any thread showing. I'm going to go through the button. Once you go through these seed beads a couple of times and the button, it should tighten up to where it's not going to move on you very easily anymore. Oh. Alright, so that's 2 times through there. Find my 4th seed bead and go back up these guys one more time. And then back through the button, and then down these 3 off to this side. Whoops. Alright, and then we're going to go back through that 4th seed bead here, which is bead number 16 that we added. And then now we're going to go down the beads on the 16 beads, or the other 15 beads that we added, just like this. Like that. So now you can see that there's thread paths on either side of that bead. Alright, then all we have to do is go down the core of our bracelet again. Before we get too far, we can do a little measurement as to see if it's going to be good or not. So it's going to be a little large for me, but that's okay because I wear small bracelets, so I try to make most of my bracelets a little bit larger so that way other people can wear it, because not everybody likes really tight bracelets like I do. So we're going to go back down the core beads, and then we'll go and make the loop for the button. And I'm actually not quite sure how many beads we need to add for our loop, because that will differ on the size of button that you're using. So if you're using a different button, then that's going to differ as to how many beads you're going to need. Now if you're using a button that has like 2 holes in it or 4 holes, kind of similar to a button that you would get on your clothing, because sometimes we get those extra buttons that we can use if your buttons fall off, that type of thing. You could use those in your bracelets as well. I have done that in the past. Alright, so I'm back down to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and go through the stop bead. So I'm going to use that as bead number 1, and then I'm going to add 15 more beads. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Alright, so there's my 16 beads. We can do another little check and make sure that we're going to be just about right. And they're just about touching. It's a little loose at the moment, but we'll be fine, I believe. I hope. Alright, so now we got to figure out how many beads we're going to add. Let's see. And then I'll show you how I do this. Let's start off with, because that's 19 millimeter, I believe, was this button size. How big was this button? Vintage button, 18 millimeters. So let's start off with maybe 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I should have had these already counted. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So you're not listening to me. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 30. Okay, we'll start off with that first. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that 16th bead here again, because we're going to use this 16th bead similar to what we did on the other end. I'm just going to make this loose. It doesn't have to be really, really tight. I'm just going to make a loop through that 16th bead. Now this loop, I'm going to try and see if we can get it up over the button. It works, but if you didn't see, when you're pushing the beads over, see how they kind of come apart a little bit in the loop? You can see it a little bit over here where it's really, really loose. So that to me tells me that I probably need a couple more beads. So let's add maybe 2 more seed beads. So 1 and 2. And I'm holding on to that last bead here so I know where I'm at. If you lose that bead, you can always count backwards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yep, this is number 16. Alright, so 16, and then we're going to pick this up again. And then we're going to try to see if we can go around this loop. Yep, that's much easier. You want it to be just a little bit tight. You don't want it to be ultra tight because we're going to go through this loop a couple more times. So the more times we go through the loop, the tighter the loop is going to get. So that is that part. So I'm going to go back through this, and I'm starting to run out of thread. I was afraid of that, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. We're going to go back through this at least one more time. I would prefer if you're able to go through it 2 more times and get your 3 thread pass through your loop as well as your button. If you're not able to, you can always put your needle onto your starter thread here and then work your way back up and into here and see if you can get that last thread path through there too, in that fashion. That's another option for you. Alright. And it does actually look like, am I going to have enough thread, I wonder? Yeah, I might just have enough, and I may have to do something similar to what I just said. Alright, so I'm going to go through this loop one more time. Now, this is usually what happens when I am designing. When you're designing something, you have to just kind of play around with it and see what's going to work and how much thread that you need to be able to get things to work. And you can always add thread to things too. Me, I like to try to start off with as much thread as I can, so that way I don't have to add thread if at all possible. Alright, so that's the last of the loop. I'm going to go back through, this is bead number 16 here. I'm going to go back through here and I'm going to try and see, I should be able to get down the rest of this. We're going to go back down these other 15 beads to get back to where the starter thread is at. Yeah, okay, cool. It worked. Now before you tie off, we're going to do another double check and make sure that this is going to be a good size and that your loop is not too tight now. So there we go. So that actually works out really good, and see that it's really kind of loose on me. I'm able to move it around and everything, so that way other people would be able to wear this besides just me. Because not everybody likes tight bracelets. Alright, so now we're to that point. We are at the starter, or the starter thread. So we're going to make our knot right here. So right over left, left over right. Me, I make a loop. I go through the loop towards me once and away from me the second time. Just making sure that we are in between the two seed beads there, just like that. Now on this one, I don't know if I have enough thread to be able to go down any more of the beads. I don't. So what do you do to get that? Because you want to move both of your thread pieces away from your knot. So what do you do with that? So I am just going to go down, I think, just one of these beads. And my needle's detached from the thread at the moment. So I just went down that seed bead, the stop bead right there, and then that first bead. And then I may have to flatten this out again to get this back into the needle. And then once you get this back in the needle, you can just pull this through. You're going to be difficult, aren't you? It says, yes, I'm going to be difficult because you're trying to record. Oh, I got it. There we go. And then that's where I'm going to just burn off down there. I'm going to put the needle on over here. And then this side, I will probably go ahead and do a couple of half-hitch knots. You can do a couple of surgeon knots as well, like we did on when we were tying off everything at the very end. But this, we're going to go through, if you can, that seed bead there. I'm going to go ahead and go down 2 beads. Actually, no, I'm going down 3 beads because we did 2 beads at the other end. So I'm going to go down 3 beads. And I'm leaving this portion in the video just in case somebody's new to figuring out how to finish off their bracelets with bead weaving. Alright, so now I am going to choose the bead. See, I gotta get this moved around. Right here. There we go. So we're going to go down these guys right here. Just a couple of beads. Similar to like what we did on the other portion when we tied off. And I'm going to make a half-hitch knot there. And then we're going to go through a couple of beads. And then we're going to make one right there at the labradorite, in between the seed bead and the labradorite. Just like that. And then go down through the labradorite plus the 5 seed beads on this side, and then that's where I'm going to go ahead and burn off on this one. Alright, so we're going to burn down these 2. I like my new thread burner. It burns a little bit easier than my other one. And I was using up a lot of batteries with my other one, so this one is one that you can just plug in with the USB. Alright, so there is that. Remove the seed beads out of the way. And then we will put this on together like this. Get that out of the way. Get our earrings over here, because we have a nice little set that we made today with our Moonlit Serenade Sam's bead box. And then here is the necklace. So there is your set that we made. And that's my Moonlit Serenade jewelry set. Necklace, bracelet, and earrings. I love how those sapphire blues and shimmering details feel like a night at the ball. Let me know which piece is your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'll be back soon to create something else magical with these beads.